Good evening and welcome to Mas con Mas. Thank you for being with us. I am your host, Raul Mascanosa. Appreciate you taking time out from your busy schedule to spend some time with us this evening, reviewing what's been going on this past week in terms of news events and politics and business and other things. I want to start by thanking our sponsors, Longevity, Café Cachita, Grimal Joyeria. Without their support, this program wouldn't be possible, and deeply indebted to them, as well as the folks at ENTV USA for having us on the air here from the studios of Cachita Universal Studios in Miami, Florida. A lot of stuff going on this past week. As usual, it's been a very, very busy summer with all the sort of repercussions coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, the violence taking place throughout the U.S. But one thing that has struck me as I'm watching what's going on in America, obviously one of the things that we like to talk about on this program is not just what's happening in the political sphere, but also what the impact of what those politics are in terms of business and the economy. Now, we all know that in terms of the economy, it's taken a big hit as a result of COVID-19. We've had, record numbers of unemployment. By some estimates, we probably have right now somewhere between, 15, 20%, if not more, of the population unemployed. Those numbers are slowly starting to improve with the emphasis on the word slowly. But despite that, interestingly enough, the financial markets are showing a fair bit of optimism regarding the future. And we've actually seen in the last couple of weeks, particularly in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, sort of week after week of improvement in those numbers. Obviously, with a lot of volatility, we've had some days that have been up, other days that have been down. But generally speaking, we're up about 2.5% from where we were about a week ago, right? So we started off the week at around 26,100. We're now, last time I looked, around 26,700 on the Dow. So obviously sort of moving in the right direction. And a long ways up from that low that we hit back in late March, where we were down below 19,000 in the Dow. So what I'm seeing is that, the real money, the people that are investing in America are somewhat optimistic about America's future. And yet we have all this political squabbling that's going on. And, this incredible fights that are taking place over whether we're going to reopen our schools or we're going to keep the schools closed, over whether we should be wearing masks, everywhere we go. All of that is sort of this dark cloud hanging over this economy. And it's really become almost like a boxing match between the public health issue, between COVID-19 and the reopening of our economy. And there has to be a way for us to be able to do this without it necessarily having to have that incredible friction between the two. I think most people understand that we cannot afford to be in lockdown mode eventually. We have to begin to reopen this economy. And that's especially important here in South Florida, where we are so dependent on tourism for so much of our economy and international travel. Miami is considered to be the unofficial capital of Latin America because of how much trade we do with Latin America. With the airlines shut down, with all that travel being shut down, the hotels being shut down, the restaurants being closed, it's having an enormous impact on our economy here in South Florida. So we have to find a way to reopen and do it smartly. You've heard me before on this program talk about, the importance of wearing masks. I continue to emphasize that. But, the economy is wanting to recover. And yet, we're seeing that spectacle of the public health crisis sort of keeping a lid on it to a certain extent. Where are mortgage rates? Take a look at mortgage rates. Mortgage rates right now have actually dropped below 3%. This is a terrific time to refinance your mortgage, okay? And one of the things that I'm concerned about is what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Why do I say that? Because the economic stimulus that was passed, several weeks ago, and the additional monies that people that are unemployed have been receiving, that $600, is coming to an end now at the end of July, literally in 2 weeks' time. And supposedly, it hasn't happened yet, but Congress is working on a second stimulus plan to keep some of that money flowing, into people's pocketbooks so they can continue to pay their bills and hopefully eventually get out of this recovery. I think that stimulus plan is going to pass. The Democrats are asking for, untold sums of trillions of dollars in that plan. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near that. But I think you are going to see another stimulus check coming from the part of the federal government. What that amount is, whether it's $1,200 or $2,000, we don't quite know yet. It's going to go out to a lot less people. Last time around, it was for people that were making under $75,000 a year. Now it may be that threshold might be a little bit lower. Some people are saying 40,000. Some people are saying it's going to be higher than that. But it's going to be a lot less perhaps than what it was the first time around. But still a nice chunk to hopefully keep things going. You're going to see billions of dollars allocated to help our schools reopen. And I think that's absolutely necessary. Education in America is an enormous employer, as it is here in South Florida. The longer we keep our schools closed, the more that continues to hurt our economy. One thing that actually struck me also that some people may not have picked up on, but earlier this week here in Florida, the state of Florida announced layoffs of the folks that are manning the call centers for people calling for unemployment benefits. That actually sort of surprised me because you'll recall just a few short weeks ago, Governor DeSantis was under incredible pressure because he was dealing with a system that was completely antiquated, completely broken. That was what he inherited, quite frankly, from Governor Scott, a unemployment system here in Florida that simply didn't work. And he started throwing money at it. He started throwing money at it to fix the website, to be able to speed up the processing of claims. We've seen some improvement, but now I'm alarmed at this news that all of a sudden, a lot of these people that were contracted to work in that call center have been laid off. And the excuse is that they've run out of funding to pay for those contracted employees to staff the call center. I'm not buying it. I don't think you should either. If you're concerned about this, if you're receiving some assistance from the state unemployment benefits, I urge you to contact your elected officials and make sure that those phones and that office is staffed properly so that people could continue to claim their unemployment benefits. It's important for us to make sure that those that have been very affected by this economy, that are out there through no fault of their own, suddenly on the unemployment line, that they continue to receive that assistance. And it seems ludicrous to me that at a time like this, when we're nowhere near out of the woods, for the governor to basically start laying off people from that call center is not a good sign. Another big thing that we've seen in the news these last couple of weeks that have been sort of front page fodder for all the mainstream media, or as I like to call them, the lamestream media, is Trump's falling in the polls supposedly. By some estimates, he's now behind Joe Biden by double digits on a national level. I've got some real question marks about those polls. Quite frankly, I don't believe them. A lot of these polls are being conducted by organizations like NBC, like the New York Times, like the Washington Post, who in my mind are no longer really legitimate news organizations. They have become de facto propaganda ministries for the Democratic Party of America. So I'm very suspect about those polls. One of our folks that we have on the program tonight, coming to us after the first commercial break that we have here, is Hector Ruz. Hector's a gentleman I've known for a long period of time. He follows polling very closely. He's a subject matter expert on on polling and how they operate. And I've invited him on the program to talk to us about these polls that are supposedly showing that Trump is so far behind. I think there might be some truth to it because obviously the president reacted this week and saw fit to sort of rearrange his campaign team. Brad Parscale, who was running the campaign, has in essence been demoted. and another gentleman has been brought in to Bill Shippian, I believe his name is, to run the campaign. So Trump is obviously paying attention to some of those numbers. I think they're vastly overstated, but I think it's worth noting that the Trump administration has responded to them. So let's talk to Hector later on this program. We'll find out exactly what's going on, with that polling. Some other news that's come out that you may or may not have seen. Apparently, Russia is trying to hack into systems in both the UK and here in the United States, trying to capture the secrets regarding the latest vaccine research that's taking place in America. Once again, we need to be on the alert because there's bad actors out there. And I don't think it's just Russia. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese are doing the same thing, trying to get a competitive edge over America by trying to tap into important research that's being conducted in America regarding the vaccines. By all accounts, we are likely to see those vaccines come to the marketplace probably by the end of the year. And I've been actually following this pretty closely. The Trump campaign has in fact released literally billion-dollar contracts to a number of pharmaceutical companies here in America to begin the process of getting their production lines ready to go to begin producing the vaccine once it is finally approved. As you can imagine, you can't turn that on from one day to the other. You have to, get everything up and running and have the supplies and have the people and have the infrastructure in place to deliver those vaccines. And to the administration's credit, they have literally spent billions of dollars in doing so already, so that once that vaccine is approved, it can very quickly get into the hands of the public. So I think we'll be seeing that before year end. That's a good thing. Keep your eye on it. At the end of the day, that is what's really going to get us out of this horrible downturn, is going to be that vaccine. Once we get people vaccinated, we can truly start going back to normal in America. The other thing that's been obviously a big thing in the news these last couple of weeks is the breakdown in public order throughout our major urban centers. We've talked about that before in this program. It continues to happen. We saw earlier this week in New York, police officers getting attacked during a protest, what was supposed to be a peaceful protest, getting attacked by anarchists in New York. The murder rates in New York spiking. We're going to be talking to René Lamar, an attorney that we've had on this program before, about what is going on in New York. And it's not just New York. It's, we've seen it in other cities, Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, Atlanta, Georgia, primarily in big urban centers that coincidentally happen to be controlled by Democratic mayors and in states that are run by Democratic governors. But the rule of law is beginning to break down in America. That is not a good thing. We do not want to revert to a system in America where we are depending on vigilantes for law and order. Stick with us. We've got some interesting guests. We've got a commercial break now. But when we come back, we'll have Hector Ruz talking to us about those polls. Thank you.
We are ENTV USA. Log on now and check out our live shows and subscribe. You don't want to miss this. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Linea Deportiva, a sports line. At 7 p.m., O Que Chisme, the best celebrity gossip show with Odi Abreu. At 8 p.m., Punto Final, another angle of news. 9 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays, we have Alo Cortez with Tony Cortez. Tuesdays at 9 p.m., Dame Un Like. Thursdays, also at 9 p.m., De Noche con Roche. Fridays, 9 p.m., Mas con Mas with Raul Mascanosa. Every Wednesdays at 4 p.m., we've got Brisky Business with Dave Brisky. Followed by Inmigración en Fronteras with lawyer Irving Gonzalez at 5 p.m. This is our programming for ENTV USA, from right here in Miami for the rest of the world. Con una vista, basta. Show some love and give us a like.
Understanding your microbiome can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate. To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome back to Moscow Mas. Our first guest today is Hector Ruz, a gentleman I've known for some time. Hector is a very savvy analyst of the U.S. political scene. He pays an awful lot of attention to polls, both national polling, state polling, and local polling as well, and is really well versed on the whole methodology of how polls operate. And I wanted to have Hector on the program because obviously one of the big subjects this last week or so has been the declining poll numbers, supposedly the declining poll numbers for President Trump, that Trump is in trouble, et cetera, et cetera. Apparently there is some basis for it because Trump saw fit to re-energize his campaign and shuffle around some people. So I wanted to talk to Hector about what's going on. How much of it should we really be paying attention to? Is it too early to be looking at the polls? And basically, what's his view on what's happening with a lot of these different polling that we're seeing throughout the country? Hector, welcome to the program. Thank you for being here. Let's just get into it. I mean, you're looking at all this different information that's there, polls showing that Trump is down, that Biden's got a 2-point lead, or a double-digit lead, I should say. Where do you view the polling?
Well, at this time, 4 years ago, we were talking about in some places Trump was down 22 points. So right. The question really is what do these polls mean now, right? Not just the numbers themselves. So what does the aggregate of all these polls mean? And thank you for having me on your show. This is a very important topic. And at the very least, we know that from these polls that the campaign has been suffering because of what current events, right? We've had the coronavirus, the COVID-19, that's just been decimating the economy, and that has been reflective in like a general sense in the public. But let me get back to the actual polls. So what or polls that are shown recently that show President Trump's disapproval numbers actually decreasing to about the same level that he had actually in the first year. In his first 6 months, it's about as low as it was when he was first 6 months of office, and then generally it went increasing from there. So this is about as low as it's basically ever going to get. Now, with that said, we have to reflect on what actually these polls mean, because the polls that we've been seeing up to now haven't been specific polls that are targeting people who are actually going to come out and vote. It's just a general sense of what the public feels. Basically, when you look at these polls like Quinnipiac, they're actually saying they're actually asking all registered voters, not people who are actually going to turn out or care enough to actually be engaged in the process and know a little bit more, right? They're not concerned about how we got here. They're concerned about what we're doing about it now and the jobs and that sort of sense. So
and by the way, I think that's important, Hector. I mean, let's expound upon that a little bit, right? Because when you do polling that basically is just going out and getting a sense of the population as a whole, we sort of need to keep in mind that, this is against a backdrop, at least right now, of really unprecedented times in terms of this pandemic, the violence that we've seen on the streets regarding, George Floyd, all of this stuff. So there is a climate of negativity in America that really is remarkable, given the circumstances, and really has nothing to do with the president's past performance on the economy or any of that stuff. It's basically what we've been experiencing since the end of March in America, right? So it reflects that sentiment of the population as a whole, which is to be understood, right? I mean, it's not unusual that people are going to be nervous and somewhat disaffected with the situation as they're seeing it.
That's right. So what we have to come down to is usually elections are decided, especially in narrow elections, as we see in the United States, that this is an issue, and pardon me, this is an issue that we're going to see these opinion polls actually switch over to people who do more research, who are more engaged, who are considered likely voters, the people who are actually going to come out and vote. I don't know if you can see the share screen of what this Quinnipiac poll as actually reads, because this is the one that kind of people are looking at as a shock poll, right?
Yeah,
now,
sure. Except we can't really read it because the print is too small on the screen here.
Sure, I can definitely make that bigger. That's not a problem. So it generally says these very scary numbers. Biden widens the lead to Trump to 15 points. Trump job approval rating drops to 36%. And then when you look at the actual details, it says about the same thing we said earlier, that this is a reaction to the COVID-19. But when one of the key factors of this poll is that it comes here and says that it's actually just talking to registered voters. It's all registered voters. So we don't know who these people are. We just know that they're registered.
Right.
It doesn't. And the other part of this is that when you look at these national polls, they never tell you what the elections are not decided on a national basis in this country. They're decided on the Electoral College, which is basically they look at in this case, now we're seeing individual states. These battleground swing states are the ones that matter the most, and they get the most attention, the most dollars spent convincing voters there. And that's why we saw that in Florida, for instance. If you don't have a clear understanding of what's happening in Florida in terms of the electorate, then in all pathways to the White House for the Republican Party in the last 20 years have been through Florida and must be through Florida. So if you're not looking at these battleground states, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and even some surprise states that President Trump actually flipped. We're talking about Pennsylvania, which hadn't voted in 30 or 40 years for a Republican, Wisconsin and Michigan. I mean, states that were not trending that way historically, but he got them because he focused in on issues that mattered to them and that largely his opponent had ignored or was perceived to be weak on. Now, the issue here, I mean, if you look at this article, I'm going to fix this a little bit so that you can say that the interesting thing here is basically big pictures. When you look at a poll, and I want everybody to remember, a poll it's not really a poll. It's called an opinion poll because it's people's opinions. It's a snapshot of what they think at that moment, right? So Trump had been beating Biden on the issues of the economy, for sure. I mean, that was the number one thing that even before COVID-19 outbreak, Trump was going to win just on that issue alone and probably carry the White House without any problem whatsoever. Then the COVID-19 outbreak happened, and it affected the economy in the way it's affecting we've seen now, and that is what's caused a lot of nervousness. And then, of course, how to respond to that has been the issue of what's affecting these general opinion polls. But we have time to recover, and that's why you see the Trump team being switched around, transformed, changed. Even in the state of Florida, this last night, we heard news that even the Republican Party of Florida was changing their leadership team. So then they're bringing on a whole new host of people to resolve that. For better or worse, there's some controversy beyond that, but polling indicates that the Trump campaign definitely needed a shot in the arm and really start focusing on these general elections. And elections is a calendar issue. We're going to look at 10 weeks before the election. So we're still going to be some time. People really will start making a clear decision on who they're going to vote for if they're undecided, of course.
Hector, let me ask you two quick questions. Number one, looking at those battleground states, supposedly the polls tell you that Trump is losing in those battleground states as well, that he's losing in Florida, that he's losing in Pennsylvania. Is that what you're seeing as well from those polling data, that at those key battleground states that he's in trouble as well?
So keep in mind that the polls got this completely wrong in 2016. Now, if you see my screen now, you're seeing this website that I recommend everybody to learn. That has access to it to the internet, realclearpolitics.com. It hosts every poll that's actually been published by a major polling firm. And that showed in 2016 that the Clinton at some point was basically leading the race throughout the entire year and they ended up getting it wrong, and we have a President Trump in the White House. And for the most part, these margins are very close. We expect margins to tighten up. That is to say that the trends that you can see in a poll are not necessarily set in stone. Really, remember, a poll is just an opinion, it's a snapshot in time. The real thing that matters is when people start voting. Right. So we know that there is a electorate out there that will vote for President Trump again. Now the question is it big enough? And in these marginal races, Ohio, North Carolina, even Virginia, Pennsylvania, which was a surprise, I said again, and Florida, they're 1 or 2 point margins. So so that means that these polls may not matter so much about how everybody feels about President Trump, but about how his own base feels about him, and certainly how the base for the Democratic candidate Joe Biden feels about him. And turning out those bases out to vote
let me ask you, Hector, because I think, one of the things that I think is important here is, and you're talking about that. I mean, obviously, we know that Trump has a base that is very energized, that I think is absolutely going to go out and vote for him. But what shocks me about some of these numbers that I'm seeing, Biden's, handling of the health crisis, or Biden's, handling of this or that. I haven't seen Joe Biden. I mean, the guy is hardly out there. I mean, he most of the time he's talking to us from the basement of his house, literally. I don't understand how somebody who is not really in the public eye that much is having supposedly such an impact. I mean, it just seems odd to me that he's getting as much traction as he is when he's not even out there. And I mean, either people are really angry at Trump, or that anger, that supposed anger, is being magnified in these polls.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very good point. Because what we have right now is really I would call it a groundhog event. So we know which direction things are going in terms of where both campaigns are basically setting up. Basically, they're starting to fight this battle in the media. They're starting to spend money on TV commercials, and right now there's an immediate effect based on as people get more and more information and they start, and frankly, people's imagination are only right now on COVID-19.
Right.
So this is more a reflection of, well, let me. People are now starting to figure out basically who Biden is for the first time, if they didn't know before. And remember, this is, again, a poll of all registered voters.
Hector,
So-
we got to wrap up because we're running out of time. But should we be
Right.
worried, yes or no?
No, not at all. What you're going to see in the next couple of weeks is basically both campaigns trying to define each other, and then you're going to see more polls that reflect that. And this is going to be an upside down, up and down effort that you're going to see in polls for weeks to come, which only will matter as we really get closer, when they start switching and asking people who are actually going to vote what they think.
Great. Thank you, Hector. Appreciate you being on the program with us. Always useful to have your insights. We are ENTV USA. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Roku. You can also download our mobile applications either from Google Play or from the Apple Store, depending on your online device. Give us a shot. You'll like what you see. Con una vista, basta.
A strong heart is a happy heart. Your body's systems depend on a healthy cardiovascular system to thrive. Without a healthy heart, you could experience symptoms like fatigue, aches and pains, dizziness, or shortness of breath. Youngevity developed Ultimate EFA Plus with a proprietary balanced blend of essential fatty acids. We started with flaxseed oil. It's been shown to improve the elasticity of arteries and support healthy blood pressure. Next, we included cold water fish oils, rich in omega-3s that can promote a healthy cardiovascular system and even increase levels of good HDL cholesterol. Then we added borage oil, known for its powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Blended together, these essential fatty acids provide you with the optimal blend of nutrients to help maintain normal cardiovascular health. Ultimate EFA Plus, the right nutrients to improve your heart health naturally. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Super Greens is a one-of-a-kind blend that's loaded with hard-to-find nutrient-dense superfoods. We've used what we've learned from our more than 20 years working with mineral-based nutrition to create one of the healthiest, plant-based nutritional products available. Each superfood was carefully selected so that it complements and enhances the others, helping to maximize Super Greens' nutritional power. Next, we added a specialized fermentation technique to increase the bioavailability of each superfood. Finally, we put in powerful probiotics and enzymes for added digestive support to give you jam-packed nutritional support. Youngevity Super Greens, the highly alkalinizing super supplement that helps balance your body. It's the superfood-powered way to get more organic fruits and veggies in your day, all in just one scoop. Check with your Youngevity distributor to learn more.
Understanding your microbiome can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Ultimate Microbiome by Youngevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Cardio Beats from Youngevity supports a healthy cardiovascular system and helps supply the nutrients your body needs to support better physical endurance. Your capacity to last a little longer is largely based on how well your cardiovascular system expends oxygen and circulates blood through your body. Cardio Beats helps combat the oxidative stress caused by physical activity by supplying you with key nutrients that support your cardiovascular system. These nutrients have also been shown to help improve endurance. Cardio Beats starts with organic beets, a rich source of nitrates to support healthy blood flow and oxygen transport. We've added whole foods from highly bioavailable seaweed and mango fruit, both known for blood flow support, and antioxidant-rich sweet cherries. Then, for even more heart health benefits, we finished it off with key amino acids. Take your physical endurance to the next level with Cardio Beats. Talk to your Longevity associate for more information.
Welcome back. I want to thank briefly our sponsors, Longevity, Cachita Coffee, and Grimal Joyeria for their continued support of this program. Without their help, we couldn't be on the air. I want to give them that shout out to them. Love working with those guys and really appreciative of their support of this program. We've got with us now attorney Rene Lamar. Rene has been on this program before. I've known Rene practically my entire life. Very smart individual, a keen follower of what's going on with politics in America. And I wanted to talk to him about something that's been very disturbing, seeing, these last couple of weeks in particular, really a breakdown in law and order in America's urban centers. Obviously, it started with what we saw in Minneapolis with the murder of George Floyd. Understandably, a lot of people very upset about that, protests throughout the country. Nothing wrong with protests. That's what America's all about. It's a freedom of speech, your ability to go out and protest for redressing your grievances. And in this case, it was a very important grievance, that of the murder of George Floyd. But we saw soon thereafter the bad effects of that. We saw the looting, the rioting on the streets. And then all of a sudden we saw America's political leaders, these governors, these mayors of these cities, responding to sort of this mob mentality with calls to defund the police, to dismantle the police forces in a lot of these cities, which is what's going to be happening apparently in the not too distant future in Minneapolis. And what we've seen lately is that spreading. And now we're seeing in New York, Mayor de Blasio has basically said that he's going to, in fact, he's already done it. He's already removed or is planning to remove $1 billion from the budget of the New York City Police Department. And as you can imagine, that has police officers in New York very upset. The gang violence unit has been dismantled. A lot of the different police units within the city of New York are being torn apart. And we've seen in the last couple of weeks a dramatic spike in the number of murders in New York. And you're really seeing a breakdown in law and order in New York. You're seeing it also in Portland and other cities throughout the United States. And it's a very troubling thing to watch, quite frankly. Rene, you've been watching this. Tell us what you think about what's been going on in New York. I heard yesterday, apparently, the day before yesterday, there were some protests. A police officer was beat up. Apparently, they've now caught the persons responsible for that. But there seems to be this incredible disrespect now on the streets for police officers and for their job and for the institution of policing in general. That's not a good thing for America.
This is something we've said many times, both on your program and in general. This is the greatest country in the world. It has provided a segment of humanity unbelievable opportunities that are not available anywhere else. You and I have had the benefit of being able to travel somewhat, and I think we can attest to the fact that there's no other country like this one. I've witnessed New York pre-Giuliani and post-Giuliani. And during Giuliani, and when the city is run properly, there is no problem. What happened recently was much more than a policeman getting beaten. It was the chief of the uniformed police officers, that a chief of police in New York that was beaten blazingly. And amazingly, it was at a unity rally. It was at a unity rally organized by pastors and church people, and they were all marching together when these anarchists decided to attack and bloodied, that I'm aware of, at least four police officers, including the chief of the uniformed service. The problem we have in New York, and I'm perplexed by it, is that we have a mayor who, were he not mayor, he would be out there leading the anarchists. He is an avowed Marxist, and unfortunately, these folks have been elected democratically to positions of power and influence across the country, and mostly in cities that have been democratic strongholds for decades, if not generations. And we're seeing, the fruits of the labors of the extreme left now coming to full bloom, unfortunately. And again, what happened to George Floyd was a terrible, terrible thing. The entire nation revolted at what we saw for those almost 9 minutes on video. There's no question about that. There's no argument there. Yeah. The problem is that the incident that led to George Floyd's murder has been hijacked by a bunch of people who don't care about racial equality. They don't care about discrimination. They are only concerned with destroying this country. And the sooner we come to grips with that, the better. I've heard that if you go to Black Lives Matter, their website, they clearly say that they are a Marxist organization. That is not what the whole argument regarding George Floyd was about. The tearing down of the monuments, it began with the Civil War monuments because they knew nobody was going to get exercised about tearing down a statue of Robert E. Lee, but that has progressed to tearing down statues of Columbus, tearing down statues of Abraham Lincoln, of Teddy Roosevelt, wanting to blow up Mount Rushmore. There is a counterculture or cancel culture movement going on in this country that needs to be stopped, but it needs to be stopped in a very intelligent way. We can't give way to violence. We can't give way, because nothing they would like more than, for example, for the government to come in and declare martial law, because then a precedent would be set that they could use in the future.
Rene,
we have to be very intelligent, and we have to uphold the rule of law.
Right.
I have a personal anecdote about the rule of law, which I'll tell you if we have time, but it tells you what it means, what it really means when the country is ruled by men and not by laws.
Right. So, but let me ask you about that, because as you mentioned, I mean, Bill De Blasio, we all know his background. I mean, here's a man who spent when he was in college, spent a summer in Nicaragua, volunteering with the Sandinistas, who had taken over that country, obviously a socialist communist regime. So we all know de Blasio's background and where he comes from. But as you mentioned, the citizens of New York saw fit to elect him as their mayor. As other communities throughout the country have done so. In Seattle, they voted in a liberal mayor. In Portland, same situation. In Minneapolis, these are all, as you mentioned, a lot of these big urban centers and these states are run by Democrats and have been for decades. So, they are to a certain extent fueling a lot of this anger. They are allowing the mobs to burn and loot and cause this chaos, because I think what they're trying to do is create such anxiety that it's going to hurt President Trump in this upcoming election. So to a certain extent, they benefit so long as there is this climate of chaos in America. And I don't know how we fix that without getting rid of these people, because when I say these people, I'm talking about these mayors and these governors through the electoral process, because otherwise this is going to continue. Although I would venture to say that if Trump were to be defeated, that suddenly you'd see these mayors and these governors throughout America suddenly start to clamp down on these protests and make sure that they come to a quick end. But I think they're just letting it go on and on. I mean, is that your impression as well?
That is certainly my impression. You saw Nancy Pelosi herself, when asked about the destruction of monuments, say, well, it's people expressing their views. I'm sorry, it's a lot more than people expressing their views. And unfortunately, yes, you're absolutely right. These mayors would be leading the charge if they weren't sitting in the mayor's office in City Hall. That's what they would be doing. There's no question about it in my mind. And again, people need to realize that they elected them and they can unelect them. Right. This is not a fait accompli. This is something that can be changed peacefully through the electoral process. And woe be unto us if we don't.
Yeah. But Rene, when we look at law and order, we have a police force for a reason, right? And many of you have heard the expression, the thin blue line. The origins of that expression, the thin blue line, comes from the fact that, police officers wear, generally speaking, blue uniforms, and that blue line of police officers is very thin. There aren't that many police officers in America, and they're really what separate us from anarchy, right? On one side, you've got anarchy, on the other side, you have sort of civilized society, and the police officers serve as the barrier between one and the other. And, when we start attacking our police officers, when we start defunding them, that line starts to disappear because there's going to be less cops on the street, there's going to be less gang violence units patrolling our streets. And quite frankly, cops are human beings. They don't like being attacked. They don't like being all of a sudden being turned into the boogeyman for all the social and racial ills that beset America. And I think we're going into very dangerous territory, because what happens when we lose the rule of law? Then you have the rise of vigilantes, right? You have people taking the law into their own hands, either for good or for bad.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody who wears a policeman's uniform is a hero in my eyes, because they do a thankless job for which they are woefully underpaid. But I'll give you a personal anecdote, Raul, of something that happened to many of our former countrymen in Cuba. My father was a judge, and when the communists took over, the commander, the military commander of the province where he was a judge, Pinar del Rio, came to the courtroom and decided he liked a shotgun and a case of shotgun shells that were being held as evidence, and he took it. He just took it. And when my father went to start the trial that this shotgun and shotgun shells were evidence in, he was told that the commander had taken the shotgun and the shells. And when he called them up and he said, Commander, there's been a mistake here. My father was still, naive. It was the beginning. It was 1960 was the beginning. And he thought that this had been a mistake. He said, Commander, there's been a mistake. You've taken this gun, and I need it back because we need to start a trial. We need to reestablish chain of custody and everything else. I need for you to come in and give me back the shotgun and the shotgun shells. And the communist commander said, no, that's been redistributed amongst the people. Where have we heard that before? And my father, being who he was, said, well, Commander, let me ask you something. It was about 250 shells. I can understand you gave one box to one guy and one box to another, but how do you redistribute a shotgun? Did you chop it into little pieces?
No.
Well, to make the long story short, my father said to this guy, have the shotgun here in half an hour. Half an hour came and went. The shotgun never appeared. And my father ordered this guy arrested. Well, you got to understand, at the beginning of the revolution, there was the main god in Cuba, who was Fidel, and then there were six in the provinces, there were six provincial gods, and this guy was one of them. So my father finished up and went to lunch, and To make a long story short, he ordered this guy arrested. This guy ordered my father put in front of a firing squad. Thankfully, it didn't happen because one of his fellow judges warned him, get out of Pinal del Rio, go back to Havana, and I'll call you when the coast is clear. And the next time anybody in my family saw Cuba, it was a Bay of Pigs. Yeah. But
Rene, we're running out of time, but I mean, you obviously, bring up a very important point. When the rule of law collapses, dictators take over.
When the laws don't apply equally to everyone, society breaks down.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rene. Thank you for being on the program. Appreciate your time, appreciate your insights, and look forward to having you again soon.
More and more healthcare professionals and people seeking alternative and natural health treatments are turning to hemp-based products because of the growing body of research supporting its benefits. Youngevity has leveraged our years of natural plant-based nutritional research to introduce 3 new products. Hemp FX Soothe helps support muscles and joints by enhancing a healthy immune response and reducing free radical stress. For optimal results, it contains our hemp-derived CBD plus the powerful antioxidant glutathione. Hemp FX Relax helps ease the mind and the body for a deep and restful sleep. We combined our hemp-derived CBD with melatonin to help support your best night's sleep. To help support positive energy for your mind and your mood, we created Hemp FX Uplift. In combination with St. John's wort and a specialized set of terpenes and cannabinoid enhancers. To learn more about Hemp FX, contact your Youngevity distributor or visit hempfx.com.
Paying attention to your overall health also means focusing on the command center of it all, your brain. Factors like stress, lack of sleep, poor diet, a sedentary lifestyle, and the bombardment of pollutants and toxins can all diminish brain and neural functions. When was the last time you concentrated on your brain health? Synaptive by Youngevity is a cutting-edge, unique brain support supplement that delivers powerful nutrients both immediately and throughout the day. Its anti-stress nutrients provide instant brain-boosting support that helps with mental focus and cognitive activity. To enhance your body's neuroprotection, Synaptive's full-spectrum antioxidant blend targets 6 major classes of free radicals that inhibit brain function. This powerful nutrient combination also promotes healthy blood flow to the brain. Synaptive, optimal antioxidant neuroprotection and support for a healthy brain. Now that's something to think about. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome back. Thank you for being with us. I want to close the program by giving you a update on a story that we talked about last week. Some of you may have followed it, a tragic story. A young 20-year-old Army soldier by the name of Vanessa Guillen at Fort Hood, Texas. She disappeared a couple of months ago. Nobody was able to find her. Initially, the Army thought she had gone AWOL. But after conducting an investigation, they went to arrest somebody about 2 weeks ago, the supposed kidnapper of this young soldier. He committed suicide as the police were closing in on him. And unfortunately, Vanessa Guillen's body was recovered after those 2 months. And it caused a big uproar in Texas and a number of calls for Latinos to boycott the U.S. Army because it couldn't protect the Latino soldiers, particularly Latino women. LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC was one of the organizations calling for those for those measures to take place for people to stay away from the Army. I can report to you that LULAC met last week with the Secretary of the Army, had a very good, productive meeting. Some good things came out of that meeting. The Army is moving very, very quickly to make sure that the death of Vanessa Guillen was not in vain. It is looking to establish an independent commission that will investigate exactly what happened in the case of her murder. Why it took so long to solve as it did, although 2 months is not really that long of a period of time, but the communication could have been better on the part of the Army. So we're making some progress in that front, and hopefully we'll get over this tough time. Again, my condolences to her family, a terribly tragic situation that happened in Texas. A beautiful young woman murdered savagely on an Army base. Her body was then taken off base and buried far away from where she was murdered. But again, the Army is going to be taking measures to investigate that and hopefully make sure that that doesn't happen ever again to an Army soldier on base. One other thing that I want to talk to you as we're closing the program, news this afternoon that Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has liver cancer and is going through chemotherapy for that cancer. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is well into her 80s. I believe she's 87 years old at this point. She's been on the Supreme Court for quite some time. She's known in liberal circles as a notorious RBG. I don't share very few things politically with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but she has been a strong advocate for women's rights in America for a very, very long period of time. She was truly one of the pioneers. And I wish her the best in terms of her health. But again, it shows how important these upcoming elections are. There may be an opportunity for the president, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg were to step down, or God forbid if she were to pass away, to have another Supreme Court justice appointee. So these elections are going to be very important. But I truly wish Ruth Bader Ginsburg success. Hopefully she overcomes this obstacle. There's a reason she's called the notorious RBG. She bounces back all the time, and hoping that happens this time as well. Thank you for being on the program. Thank you to our sponsors, Youngevity, Cachita Coffee, and Grimal Joyeria for the support of this program, and look forward to seeing you again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.